Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling something I think a lot of us can relate to, thriving while single.
Yeah, sounds good.
You know, you gave us some great material to work with this
Oh,
time,
yeah.
an article called How Can You Embrace the Weight of Singleness and Thrive?
Hmm.
And a whole podcast script too on the same topic.
Wow.
And I have to say, this stat from one of the sources really jumped out at me. 4 million single people of marriageable age.
That's a lot of people.
It really is.
Yeah,
Navigating this whole emotional landscape.
right.
So I want to throw this out to all of you listening. What are your first thoughts when you hear that word, singleness?
Yeah, it's a loaded word, isn't it?
It really is.
It's interesting because both of these sources we have today kind of paint these two contrasting sides of being single.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like some people, they see celibacy as this bourbon, like this waiting period.
Yeah.
Until you get to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then others see it as this time of real joy and like self-discovery. Yeah.
The author of the article even describes going through these phases, excitement, depression, contentment, and then right back to longing.
Wow.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you wonder how much of that is genuinely how we feel and how much of that is from like the pressure to be coupled up.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Because one of the sources even quotes, "Man is not made to live alone," and links it back to that Adam and Eve story.
Oh, wow.
So it makes you wonder, does that kind of create an expectation that's hard to shake?
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it plays a huge role. I mean, this idea that we're somehow incomplete without a partner,
Mm-hmm.
it's so deeply ingrained in our culture.
Oh, it really is.
But the article also emphasizes seeking God's kingdom first
Yeah.
and trusting his timing.
Yeah.
So it suggests that there's more to life's purpose than just finding a romantic partner.
I'm really curious about that. Seeking God's kingdom first. It sounds a bit abstract to me.
Yeah, you know what you mean.
What could that look like practically for someone who is single? I think it could mean like prioritizing your spiritual growth, deepening that relationship with God,
Yeah.
aligning your actions with his teachings.
Okay, yeah.
And it could also involve, discovering your talents
Mm-hmm.
and using those talents to serve others.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's really about focusing on what truly matters.
Yeah.
The article mentions how the author started with this long list of ideal partner qualities,
Yeah, I remember that.
but eventually it just boiled down to a man of God.
Wow.
Have you ever found yourself doing that, like creating these elaborate wish lists for a partner?
Oh, all the time. I think it's so common. We build up these like idealized versions of people in our minds, and then it makes finding someone feel impossible.
Oh, totally. It's like searching for a unicorn.
Exactly.
It's like we forget that everyone has flaws.
Mm-hmm.
The source even debunks the myth of Prince Charming.
Oh, yeah. No one's perfect.
And I feel like holding on to these unrealistic expectations can actually hold us back
I think so too.
from enjoying the present.
Definitely.
It's like putting life on hold until we find the one.
Totally.
But the source encourages us to find happiness and fulfillment in our lives right now, regardless of our relationship status.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the present
Yeah,
and appreciating all the good things we already have.
it's a powerful shift.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. The source also mentions that focusing on this future with a partner
Yeah.
can actually distract us from the present moment.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think about that?
I think it's so important to find joy in the journey,
Yes.
not just the destination.
Right.
We often fall into that trap of thinking, once I find a partner, then I'll be happy.
Oh, yeah.
But happiness is an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we can cultivate no matter what.
I love that. Happiness is an inside job. That reminds me of the author's advice to zoom in on the small joys in life.
Oh, I love that.
Instead of focusing on what's missing, it's about appreciating the little things that bring us happiness.
We like that first cup of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Enjoying a walk in nature.
Yeah.
A meaningful conversation with a friend.
All those little things.
Those moments can add up to so much happiness.
They can.
Yeah.
It's like finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. The source also suggests things like traveling
Oh, yeah.
or pursuing hobbies as ways to find joy. What are some things that bring you joy?
I love learning new things.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's reading or exploring a new topic or even just having like a deep conversation,
Yeah.
those moments really excite me.
It sounds like you value continuous learning,
I do.
expanding your horizons.
Yeah.
For me, it's all about creative expression.
Oh, cool.
Whether it's writing, painting, even brainstorming ideas for this show.
Love that.
When I can tap into that creative energy, it brings me a lot of joy.
That's awesome. And I think it highlights how much these passions can really impact our well-being.
Yeah.
No matter our relationship status, they're essential parts of who we are.
Exactly. They give us a sense of purpose beyond just finding a partner.
It's so crucial to have that when we're doing things we're passionate about.
Yeah.
We feel connected to something bigger.
Absolutely. And the source makes a great point about this. It says, discovering these passions while single can actually make us better partners down the road.
That's a good point.
Because we're bringing that wholeness and that sense of self into the relationship instead of expecting our partner to complete us.
Right. It's about becoming whole individuals.
Yeah.
Not just halves.
Yes, I love that. It's recognizing our worth, our value as individuals.
Yes.
Not just potential partners.
Exactly. And speaking of wholeness, there's this great quote that I think ties it all together.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It says, "We must strive to ensure that celibacy is not experienced as a waste of time, but as a time given to work on one's intimacy with Christ, a time of openness to others, of trust and hope."
Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really reframes that narrative
It does.
of singleness as a time of purpose
Yeah.
and growth.
And not just waiting around.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to explore this further.
Yeah.
So far, we've talked about the emotional roller coaster,
Yeah.
the societal pressures, and the importance of finding joy and purpose right now.
And I think that sets us up perfectly
Yeah.
to dive into some practical tips.
Oh, I love practical tips.
Yeah.
For thriving in this season.
Yeah. What do you say? We explore those next.
Let's do it. Okay, so we just finished talking about finding joy and purpose in this single life.
Yeah.
But I think I'm ready for more, Like, what are some practical steps we can take
Totally.
to really thrive during this chapter?
Mm-hmm.
Besides just trying to enjoy the journey, like we hear so often.
Right. Because it's like, okay, but how?
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And luckily, both of these sources give us some really great tips.
Okay, good.
One that really stuck out to me is cultivating gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy to just focus on what we're missing. But if we can shift our attention to what we do have, it can totally change things.
That reminds me of something I read
Oh, yeah.
about how practicing gratitude can rewire our brains
Wow.
to focus on the positive.
Really?
You think there's a connection?
I think there could be.
Yeah.
When we practice gratitude, we're training our minds to really appreciate all the good things. No matter how small they are, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So true.
Yeah.
So instead of just thinking about the fact that we haven't found a partner,
Right.
we can focus on our friends,
Yes.
family,
Yeah.
and all the good things we already have.
Exactly. And don't forget about those little everyday joys, too.
Yeah.
Like that cup of coffee, that beautiful sunset, a good talk with a friend.
I love that.
Those little moments can add up to a lot of happiness.
Yeah, they really can. It's about finding that extraordinary in the ordinary.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing the source highlights is pursuing our passions.
Yes.
Whether it's traveling or volunteering or learning something new, investing our time and energy in things that light us up can be incredibly fulfilling.
I love that. It just speaks to the power of purpose.
Yeah.
When we're engaged in something we really care about, it gives our lives so much more meaning.
Yeah.
Which can be so helpful when we're feeling lost.
Oh, absolutely. It's like that quote, the purpose of life, after all, is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience.
I love that.
I do too. I think it really captures that spirit of exploring and growing. And the source also mentions how discovering these passions while we're single can make us better partners in the future.
Oh, totally.
We're bringing that wholeness and self-awareness into a relationship
Yeah,
instead of expecting our partner to complete us.
totally. It's not about distracting ourselves from being single. It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves, period.
I love that.
Yeah. And that benefits us no matter what.
So true. Speaking of becoming better versions of ourselves,
Yeah.
the source also talks about serving others,
Oh, yeah.
volunteering, mentoring someone,
Yeah.
even just being there for a friend who's going through something.
Right. That's such a good point. When we shift our focus outward and use our talents to make a difference,
Yeah.
it not only helps them, but also gives us that purpose and satisfaction. It's like that saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
I love that.
Mm.
What's interesting to me is that by focusing on others, we often end up learning a lot about ourselves.
Yeah.
What are some things you've learned?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I've learned the importance of empathy, the power of human connection,
Yeah.
and just the incredible resilience of people.
Wow.
It's humbling to see how much we can do when we work together.
Yeah, it really is. It sounds like those experiences have really shaped you.
They have.
Okay. So we've talked about cultivating gratitude, pursuing our passions, and serving others.
Yeah.
All these things contribute to a more fulfilling life no matter what.
They do.
But let's be realistic.
Okay.
Even with all these practices,
Yeah.
there are still going to be times when we feel lonely
Oh, absolutely.
or like we're longing for something more.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge those feelings and
Yeah.
not just try to push them down.
Right.
It's normal to feel those things even when we're trying to thrive in our singleness.
Yeah.
It's part of being human.
Right. The source reminds us to stay grounded in our faith
Yeah.
and trust God's timing.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like practically?
Yeah, especially when we're feeling discouraged. For me, it's about staying connected to my spiritual practices,
Okay.
spending time in prayer and meditation,
Mm-hmm.
leaning on my community for support.
Yeah.
It's also about reminding myself that God has a plan,
Mm-hmm.
even when I can't see it.
Yeah, it's about surrendering control
Yeah,
and trusting that things will work out.
exactly.
I really love that idea from the source about turning our waiting room into a classroom.
Oh, yeah.
It's seeing this time as an opportunity for learning and growth
Mm-hmm.
rather than just waiting for something to happen.
Right. That's such a great way to look at it. What kind of lessons do you think we might be learning?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for you?
I think for me, it's been about learning to be more independent.
Okay.
You know, when you're single, you have to rely on yourself
Mm-hmm.
and make your own decisions.
Right.
It's empowering, but it can definitely be tough.
Yeah, I can see that. What about you? What are some lessons you've learned?
I think one of the biggest ones for me has been learning to be comfortable with myself,
Yeah.
even when I don't have a partner.
Yeah.
It's like developing that self-love
Yeah.
and acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't depend on someone else.
Right. And that ties back to that idea of wholeness.
Exactly. When we learn to love and accept ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we can love and accept others
Yeah.
so much better.
We bring that feeling of completeness to our relationships instead of expecting our partner to give it to us.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about becoming whole individuals,
Yes,
not just halves of a whole.
exactly.
Right.
And that wholeness comes from inside,
Mm-hmm.
not from someone else.
So true. I think we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like there's still more to talk about.
Oh, yo.
We talked about those emotions of being single,
Yeah.
those practical tips for thriving,
Mm.
and turning our waiting room into a classroom. And I think this sets us up perfectly
Right.
to talk about navigating all that societal pressure.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
How do we deal with those expectations
Mm-hmm.
and stay true to ourselves?
Okay, so we've been talking about all the great things about being single.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's this pressure from society that can make it kind of complicated.
Totally.
Yeah.
The sources definitely point that out.
Yeah.
This expectation, especially as you get older,
Mm-hmm.
that everyone should be coupled up.
Right.
Like being single is just this temporary thing,
Yeah.
like a problem to be solved.
Yeah, it's like you're always aware of this invisible timer,
Yes.
and everyone's just waiting for you to check that relationship box.
Exactly. And it can feel so heavy.
It really can.
No.
And that pressure comes from everywhere. Right?
Oh, yeah. Family, friends, the media.
So you're constantly getting asked, when are you going to settle down?
I know. Or you get left out a couple things.
Right. Like you're automatically labeled the single friend.
And then you have movies and TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
Always showing romantic love as like the ultimate goal.
Yeah. It's easy to start thinking you're falling behind if you're not part of a couple.
It can really mess with your self-esteem
Yeah, it can.
and even make you feel ashamed.
That's no good. So how do we deal with all of that?
It can feel like a constant battle.
It really can.
I think the first step is just realizing it's there.
Yeah, becoming aware of it.
Yeah. Recognizing that these pressures are just societal norms.
Mhm.
They don't reflect our worth.
Right. It's about separating those messages from our own beliefs.
Exactly. Like developing an internal filter
Ooh, I like
to
that.
figure out what matters to us,
Yeah,
not just what society tells us.
I love that. And once we have that awareness,
Mm-hmm.
we can start challenging those norms.
Yes, we can set boundaries.
Right. Like maybe shutting down those questions from relatives.
Yep. Or spending time doing things that make us feel good.
It's about putting our well-being first.
Totally. And surrounding ourselves with people who support us.
Yeah, for who we are,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of if we're in a relationship or not.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to opt out of things that make you feel uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, good point.
You get to decide what makes you happy.
It's about owning your singleness.
Yes.
Seeing it as a strength, not a weakness.
Right. It's a time to figure yourself out.
Yeah.
To grow and pursue your passions.
Without being tied down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes when you really embrace this time,
Yeah.
it can actually attract the right person.
Oh, that's interesting. Seems counterintuitive.
I know, but I've heard that too.
Yeah.
It's like when we stop focusing so much on finding someone and start living our best lives,
Yeah.
we become more attractive.
Yeah, because we're more confident.
Yes. And joyful.
Yeah.
Those are magnetic qualities.
So true.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at being single as this problem, what if we looked at it as an opportunity?
I love that.
A chance to invest in ourselves,
Yeah.
build amazing friendships, and chase our dreams.
It's a time of abundance, not lack.
I love that. And remember, you're not alone in this.
There are so many other people going through the same things.
It's just like any other part of life.
Yeah.
There are going to be ups and downs.
Sure.
But there's also going to be so much joy
Yeah.
and freedom.
And self-discovery.
It's about embracing it all.
Yeah. And remembering that who you are is not defined by your relationship status.
If we've learned anything from this deep dive, it's that being single is a time to learn and grow.
It's a classroom.
It is.
Yeah.
And to become the best version of yourself.
Which is pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
As we wrap up our deep dives today, we want to leave you with this thought. What lessons are you learning in your life right now?
Yeah.
How are you creating a life that feels meaningful to you?
We hope this has given you some new ideas and encouraged you to embrace your own journey.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.